So we will start. Last time we have done for our diet control and tips for the diet. Now we have wonderful our learner and very good speaker, Dr. Rajnikant Gajjar sir, and we have listened him very often, but still we are lacking somehow. So today we will have very good knowledge from Gajjar sir, and over to Chintan. You can you are moderator. You can introduce the Gajjar sir nicely. Over to you, Chintan sir, and welcome Kandoi sir. As this is the online classes and the coordinator is me, so we have skipped like this. You can say a few words and then Chintan will start moderating the session.
Okay. Dr. Tarun Vakela had done everything about the meeting, and this is a very good topic for our anesthetist doctor. And we have heard Dr. Rajnikant Gajjar many times, and it is a good opportunity to hear him again. And I welcome all who are present here in this online session. Please, I hand over.
Okay, thank you, Kandoy sir and Vakela sir, and
Okay.
other ISA dignitaries on this wonderful platform, helping all anesthesiologists all across the Gujarat state and national level. We have Dr. Rajnikant Gajjar sir from Bharuch, who is a well-known anesthesiologist plus a financial guru guide and a qualified one. So we will have a wonderful session from him, I am sure. Without wasting any time, I am handing over to Gajjar sir for his talk. He will introduce himself. We all know him actually. He has delivered many lectures on personal finance and financial well-being for anesthesiologists all across various forums and our ISACON and all that. So he will introduce himself and then start his lecture. Over to you, Gajjar sir.
Respected dignitaries, respected GSB ISA officials, and my dear fellow anesthesia colleagues. My presentation is titled as Financial Planning for Anesthesia Doctors, Simply Simple. It is more or less a simply simple, a sort of a standard operating protocol approach. I'll be talking in the language of the do's and do nots. I'll not talk in the language of the ifs and buts. There will be clear guidelines. I'll be speaking for about 35 to 40 minutes, and then I'll be open to questions that is related to my presentation. About me, I passed MD in anesthesia from Medical College, Baroda in 1988. I belong to Bharuch, Gujarat. Speaker Okay. I belong to Bharuch, Gujarat. I am NISM certified in investment advisory level 1. I am NISM certified in retirement planning. I am NISM certified in mutual fund distribution as well. NISM stands for National Institutes of Securities Markets. Let me add a personal disclaimer over here. Even though I am NISM certified in mutual fund distribution, I am not involved. I do not hold the ARN number, nor I am involved in the advisory or in mutual fund distribution business. I believe that all of us are intelligent enough and we can do the direct investments. There is no need for the regular mutual funds. There is no need for the intermediaries in the mutual fund investments. I do write on my blog about personal finance. That is, my blog is titled as rkhgajjar.wordpress.com. My WhatsApp mobile number is 98241333073. First, I'll share a disclaimer about my blog and this presentation. It is difficult to repeat the same understanding in the personal finance again and again. That is why I prefer to write on my blog so that it can be shared easily and be accessed easily by all. This blog is totally free to me. I do not pay anything to manage or maintain it. So there are no advisory, business or commercial or professional interests or gains involved in this blog for me. I write only and only for my own pure personal pleasure. It is free to access for all as well. To read and share with the others or not to read and not to share with the others is your choice. I usually start my presentations in personal finance with this quotation of the J.L. Collins. It is about the financial independence. It states that understanding money is critical. If you choose to master it, money becomes a wonderful servant. If you do not, it will surely master you. Money can buy many things, none of which is more important than your financial independence. Dear colleagues, if a question is asked whether money can buy the happiness or not, the answer may be complex and confusing. But if a question is asked whether money can buy the financial independence or not, the answer is crystal clear. It is definitively and positively yes. Yes, money can definitely buy financial independence. First, I'll discuss the basics of the personal finance. There are three in number. First is the goal-based investing. Next is the asset allocation strategy. And the last is the strategic rebalancing at 10% change from the pre-decided, strategically decided asset allocation strategy. First, the goal-based investing. Whenever you do any investment, whatever the amount may be, there has to be a clear goal, clear purpose, clear aim attached to that particular investment. Goal-based investing makes the exit strategy from the investment extremely clear. As and when one reaches close to the goal deadline, either in the form of the goal corpus size or in the form of the goal deadline in the form of the timeline, one should redeem this investment and one should utilize it for that particular personal financial goal that it is assigned to it. So this makes goal-based investing makes the exit strategy from the investment extremely clear. Next is the assets allocation strategy. It is said that there is no free lunch in this world, but dear colleagues, believe me, assets allocation strategy is as good as a free lunch in personal finance. It is neither the experience, it is neither the exposure, it is neither the timing, it is neither the intelligence, it is neither the time in the capital markets which is more responsible for success in personal finance other than assets allocation strategy. So one should have a strategically decided asset allocation strategy to start with as and when one starts the investment journey. The last is the strategic rebalancing at 10% change. We do have a strategically decided asset allocation strategy. So capital markets are volatile. So as and when there is some change in the capital markets, when it reaches the 10% stage, one should do the strategic rebalancing and one should bring back to the originally decided asset allocation strategy. Let us understand with an example. Say we start with 60% equity exposure and 40% into the debt exposure. Markets are volatile. They may move upwards also. So the equity component may rise to 70%. This is the time that one should redeem the equity component and bring the profits into the debt component. And once again, one should resettle at the 60% into the equity and 40% into the debt component. Similarly, it is equally possible that the markets may move downwards also. When the markets have moved downwards and the equity component has dropped to the 50%, it is our duty to redeem the debt component and bring the proceeds into the equity component and again raise it to the 60%. So as and when there is a 10% change from the strategically decided, pre-decided asset allocation strategy, one should do the rebalancing in such a way that the original asset allocation strategy is restored and retained. So far in my discussion, I have addressed the asset classes as equity assets and debt assets. But henceforth in my discussions, I'll prefer to use the words volatile assets and stable assets. Volatile assets usually means equity assets, but stable assets may mean stable debt assets, or it may mean even stable equity assets as well. There are two types of approaches into the personal finance in our personal life also. One approach is the ad hoc approach. जैसा होगा वैसा देखा जाएगा, but ad hoc approach usually leads to the in personal finance always leads to the adversity. Then there is another approach, that is a planned approach. Planned approach always leads to prosperity and peace. The way we do the pre-operative examination of our patients and the way we decide our anesthesia plans in advance. Similarly, one should have personal finance planning as well. There is a famous quotation which states that one who fails to plan usually plans to fail. So no planning is definitely a planning for the failure. It has been my dream and my prayers to the Lord Swaminarayan that all the anesthesia doctors must be financially independent as early as possible. Basically, there are two types of financial planning approaches. One is the multiple portfolio approach and another is the unified portfolio approach or single portfolio approach. I'll detail the details in the following slides. There has to be a strategic planning for the wealth creation and personal financial goals realization in our earning years. That is, our focus period is age 30 till age 60. It is the most crucial wealth building phase of the life. It is the time for the structured and the disciplined planning. There are two types of basically personal financial goals in our life. First is the non-negotiable goal and another is a negotiable goal. In case of the non-negotiable goals, we have to accumulate the necessary fund size, necessary corpus size. Otherwise, if we fail to accumulate the necessary fund size and necessary corpus size, the outcome is suffering and misery. While in the case of the negotiable goals, if we fail to accumulate the necessary corpus size for that particular negotiable personal financial goal, then there can be alternatives, there can be many compromises, many choices as well. I'll detail more about these non-negotiable, negotiable goals in the following slides as well. First, the broad overview about the two approaches. First approach is the multiple portfolio approach for the multiple goals. Herein, there is a separate investment asset category for each particular personal financial goal. So it makes the tracking of that personal financial goal much easier, and it ensures clarity also. Then there is one more advantage. It ensures safety of the goal realization. By word safety of the goal realization, I mean that as and when we come close to the goal deadline, it may be in the form of the goal corpus size or it may be in the form of the goal timeline. We must gradually reduce the component of the equity volatile assets and we must increase the component of the stable assets. For example, right now, the markets have moved downwards. And suppose somebody is accumulating the funds for his kids' education, and if suppose somebody has failed to move from the volatile equity assets to the stable debt assets much in advance, say in at least 2 to 3 years in advance, then the outcome is suffering and misery because right now the markets have moved downwards. Then there is another unified portfolio for all the goals. Herein there is a single portfolio and we withdraw the funds from this particular single portfolio as and when the need for the particular personal financial goal arises. Herein there are only two mutual funds that are required. Now, few more words about the non-negotiable goals and the negotiable goals. Emergency fund is a non-negotiable goal because as and when there is an emergency, we need certain amount of the funds and we cannot depend upon the volatility of the capital markets to have any fluctuations in our emergency funds. Similarly, retirement fund is also an non-negotiable goal. As and when we reach close to our age 60, we need to have provision for all our lifestyle and livelihood expenses from age 60 to 90. Suppose if we fail to accumulate the necessary funds at age 60, then the outcome is suffering and misery. So emergency fund and the retirement funds, these two are non-negotiable goals. While in the case of the kids' education, assets and experiences and kids' marriage, there can be alternatives. In the case of the kids' education, suppose if we fail to accumulate the necessary fund size, there is alternative of the education loan. Similarly, in the case of the assets and experiences, we can modify our expenses as per our availability of the funds. Similarly, in the case of the kids' marriage, we can either delay a marriage or postpone the marriage, or we can ask our kids to contribute to our expenses. So these are negotiable goals. Kids education, assets and experiences, and kids marriage, they are negotiable goals, while emergency funds and retirement funds, they are non-negotiable goals. Now, there is definitely priority order of all types of the goals. Naturally, the non-negotiable goals are first in the priority. First in the priority is the emergency funds. One must have at least 6 to 12 months of the monthly expenses as emergency funds accumulated. Those colleagues who are into the certain fixed jobs and they have certainty of income month on month, they can manage with the 6 months of the monthly expenses also, while those colleagues who are into the private practice and those who have a variable income month on month. Is it okay? I'm audible? Can I continue or should I stop?
Yes, yes, sir.
Can
Yes, sir.
continue.
Audible, sir.
Okay,
You
okay.
can continue, sir. Continue, please.
I failed to recognize the advice.
Continue.
Sir, there is some, you continue, there is some breakage in voice, but it is audible. Yeah.
Okay,
You can
okay,
continue,
okay.
sir. Continue,
Okay.
please.
So first in the list is the emergency funds. One must accumulate at least 6 to 12 months of the monthly expenses as emergency funds. Those colleagues who are into the certain fixed jobs, they can manage with the 6 months of monthly expenses also. But those colleagues who are into the private practice and those who have a variable income month on month, they should manage to accumulate the 12 months of the monthly expenses as emergency fund. By monthly expenses, I do mean that it definitely means the livelihood expenses, but it also includes the EMI and the insurance expenses. In personal financial journey, emergency funds is the first in the priority, and similarly, insurance coverage is also first in the priority. One must have adequate enough size of the lifetime insurance. One must have adequate enough size of the health insurance. Equally, one must have adequate enough size of the general insurance for his vehicles and his personal belongings, that is house. So basically, first we have to take care of the emergency funds, that is 6 to 12 months of the monthly expenses and all the insurance expenses. This must be covered before we start our investment journey, that is the financial planning. Next in the list is the retirement funds. It was believed that our kids are our retirement funds, but now, with increasing nuclear families and with our kids settling down more or less away from our hometowns, it is not possible for them to support us financially or otherwise also. So, to accumulate the funds necessary for our livelihood expenses and lifestyle expenses in age frame 60 to 90 is our own responsibility. It is our own duty to our own selves. So, retirement funds is a non-negotiable goal. It is second in the list. Third is the kids' education expenses. It is a negotiable goal. There is an alternative of the education loan as well. Life is not only to fulfill certain personal financial goals also, but the life is also to purchase certain assets and to have certain pleasant experiences also. Basically, we all need to buy the house and the vehicle, that is the four-wheeler. But there can be desire for the farmhouses, there can be desire for the many other purchase of the costly white gizmos. Similarly, there can be desire for the uh, weekend parties. There can be desire for the monthly parties. There can be desire for the national vacations. There can be desire for the international vacations year on year or at a period of certain few intervals. This is fourth in the priority. It is a negotiable goal. Lastly is the kids marriage fund. It is fifth in the priorities, also a negotiable goal. I discussed about it earlier. Now we'll go in detail with both the approaches, that is the multiple portfolio approach and unified or single portfolio approach. In multiple portfolio approach, there is a clarity of the personal financial goal tracking, and there is safety of the goal realization. As and when we come close to the goal deadline in the form of the corpus size or in the form of the timeline, we must reduce the component of the equity assets or the volatile assets, and we must increase the component of the stable assets. Maybe it may be the debt assets or it may be the stable equity assets also. Now, in these two slides, I'll identify and recommend which types of the investment asset category or which types of the mutual funds they are more suitable for particular purposes, particular personal financial goals. The first is the emergency funds. For emergency funds, my recommendation is the short duration debt funds or money market funds. Dear colleagues, do mark that for the emergency funds, I have totally avoided the volatile or the equity assets. Both these are the stable assets and the debt assets. Because for emergency, as and when the emergency arises, we need exact amount of the proportion funds. We cannot depend upon the volatility of the capital market to manage our emergency funds. For retirement funds, there can be many alternatives, but in my opinion, National Pension System Tier 1 retirement account is the most optimum choice. The reasons are as follows. There is a compulsory lock-in till the age 60. So this provides a fertile ground for our investments to grow over a long period. Then there is a strict exit withdrawal rules also. So it is very unlikely that these funds are utilized for some other purposes. And then there is third advantage also. The National Pension System Tier 1 retirement account has got the lowest expense ratio in the entire world for any type of the managed pension funds. It has got the expense ratio of 0.093%. That means that suppose one invests around 10 lakhs rupees, only 930 rupees are taken away as expenses and the rest of the amount is invested. And as per the asset classes, it earns the interests or returns over a long period of 30 years. That is from age 30 to age 60. So in my humble opinion, based on these three features, that is the strict lock-in, strict exit withdrawal rules, and the lowest expense ratio, National Pension System Tier 1 retirement account is the compulsory choice for the retirement funds. Now the next three goals, that is the kids education, kids marriage, and assets and experiences. For kids marriage, my choice, my recommendation is the aggressive hybrid funds. In aggressive hybrid funds, there is exposure of 65 to 80% to the volatile equity assets and 25 to 20 to 35% exposure to the stable debt assets. And here in aggressive hybrid funds, every month end, there is a strategic rebalancing that happens, so that the originally decided strategic asset allocation strategy is restored and retained. For kids marriage, my recommendation is the Nifty Large and Mid Cap 250 Index Fund. Basically, in mutual funds, there are two types of the investment strategy. One is the active investment strategy and another is the passive or index investment strategy. In active investment strategy, it is the fund manager who decides which sectors and which shares are to be bought. So definitely their fund manager has got a significant role to play, and their expense ratio is also higher. It is in the range of 150 to 2.25%. While in the case of the passive or index investing, it is the particular index that is copied or that is mirrored by the fund manager, and so there is a fund manager has a less significant role to play, so their expense ratio is also low. It is in the range of the 0.30 to 0.50%. Let me add my personal disclaimer. Basically, personally, I prefer more of the passive or index investing. So my choice for the kids marriage is Nifty Large and Mid Cap 250 Index Fund. Few more words about this Nifty Large and Mid Cap 250 Index Fund. Herein there is equal exposure to both the large cap segment and the mid cap segment. So out of the 100 rupees that is offered to the mutual fund house, 50 rupees are invested into the large cap companies and 50 rupees are invested into the mid cap companies. Not only that, every month end, every quarter end, every 3 months end, there is a strategic rebalancing that happens. So whatever the ratios have changed, that is the exit 50% into the large and exit 50% into the mid cap, if they have changed over a period of 3 months, they are restored and retained in such a way that the original proportion of 15 to the large cap and 15 to the mid cap is retained and restored. For assets and experiences, I have divided my recommendations between the two both the investment strategies. That is, first 50 rupees are for the active investment strategy. In active investment strategy, my choice is the flexi cap funds. In flexi cap funds, it is the fund manager who decides which sectors are to be invested or which market cap segment is to be invested in. So out of the 100 rupees assigned for these assets and experiences funds, the first 50 rupees are invested into the flexi cap funds, and the next 50 rupees, in my opinion, my recommendation, should be invested in two index funds. The first index fund is the Nifty 50 Index Fund, and the another index fund is the Nifty 500 Multi-Cap 50-25-25 Index Fund. Nifty 50 Index Fund is very well known to all of us. It is the exposure to the largest first 50 companies of the National Stock Exchange. But few more words about the Nifty 500 Multi-Cap 50-25-25 Index Fund. Herein there is a defined proportion. So out of the 100 rupees offered to the fund house, first 50 rupees are invested into the large cap companies, that is the first 100 companies. Next 25 rupees are invested into the mid cap companies, that is the 101 to 250 number companies. And the last 25 rupees are invested into the small cap companies, that is 251 to 500 number companies. And here also, as in the case of the Nifty Large and Mid Cap 250 Index Fund, every quarter and every 3 months, there is a strategic rebalancing which happens. And this strategic rebalancing ensures that the original proportion, that is 15 to the large cap, 25 into the mid cap, and 25 into the small cap, is restored and retained. Let me add few more words about these index funds. In index funds, whatever the rebalancing is done by the mutual fund house, it is not having any tax burden to the investor. Neither investor has to do any paperwork. So both these things, that is strategic rebalancing, happens in the Nifty Large and Mid Cap 250 Index Fund and Nifty 500 Multi-Cap 50-25-25 Index Fund. Both these happens without any paperwork or any burden from the investor side, and no any tax burden also. Basically, my logic and reasoning for selection of these three categories of the funds is simple, basic personal finance that I explained earlier in my presentation. It is the goal-based investing, it is the asset allocation strategy, and it is the strategic rebalancing that is happening at every quarter end or every month end. So, based on my personal financial recommendations, basics, I have recommended these particular investment mutual fund categories for these goals. This is the summary of the multiple portfolio approach. It is a specific goal-based strategy. There is a psychological comfort because for each particular personal financial goal, there is a separate investment strategy. It provides better risk segregation. It is ideal for the non-negotiable goals. Now the next, that is the unified or the single portfolio approach. In unified or single portfolio approach, we manage all the goals in a single portfolio, and we withdraw the funds as and when the need for the particular fund, particular purposes arises. Say there is a need for a down payment for the home loan, so we withdraw from these funds. As and when there is a need for kids' education, we withdraw from this unified single portfolio. And as and when more or less all the personal financial goals are fulfilled, and when we reach the age 60, whatever the funds is there in this unified single portfolio, it becomes sort of our retirement portfolio. Basically, if one is confused, one is not ready to take the headache of a multiple portfolio approach, this is definitely a starter strategy to start with. Basically, it is a two fund structure. There are two funds. One is the volatile fund that is required for the growth of the portfolio, and another is the stable fund that is required for stability and rebalancing purposes. For volatile fund or growth engine, my choice is the aggressive hybrid fund that I have discussed earlier. But for stable fund and stability and rebalancing, my choice is the equity savings scheme. Because equity savings scheme do have exposure to the equity component, but it is hardly in 10 to 25% into the naked equity or unhedged equity or direct equity. Rest of the equity exposure in the form of the arbitrages or derivatives, and the rest in the debt funds. So equity savings scheme is the only equity scheme which provides the benefits of the equity taxation, but at the same time it provides the least volatility and the maximum stability among all the equity schemes, starting from the large cap schemes to the sectoral or the thematic funds. But in a single portfolio approach, one has to follow a age band specific exposure to the volatile assets and the stable assets. So for age 30 to 40, there is a compulsory exposure 70% to the volatile assets and 30% to the stable assets. If you will go through all these figures, you will realize that I have taken the benefit of the old age principle, that is 100 minus age is exposure to the equity, and I have taken that figure as a volatile exposure and the rest of the figure as the stable exposure. So for age 30 to 40, 70% into the volatile, 30% into the stable. For age 50 to 60, 50% into the volatile and 50% into the stable. And age 70 to 80 or age 70 to 90, 30% into the volatile assets and 70% into the stable assets. If you will go through all these figures, you will realize that in young age, that is in age band 30 to 40, when we have maximum earning capacity and when we have readiness to tolerate the volatility of the capital markets to the maximum, there is maximum exposure to the volatile assets, that is the aggressive hybrid funds, and there is the least exposure to the stable assets, that is the equity savings schemes. But in the age 70 to 80, when our earning potential is very much low, and when we have ability to tolerate the volatility of the capital markets is very low, the exposure to the volatile assets, that is the aggressive hybrid funds, is reduced to 30%, and exposure to the equity savings schemes, that is the stable assets, is raised to the 70%. But key to success in the unified or single portfolio approach is demanding. It requires military discipline. So one has to have a consistency of investment month on month. One has to have a discipline to follow the age band specific asset allocation strategy into the volatile assets into the stable assets. Similarly, one has to do the strategic rebalancing also. Based on the strategically decided pre-decided asset allocation strategy, whenever there is a 10% change into the strategic asset allocation strategy, one should do the rebalancing. This is the only key to the success in the single portfolio or unified portfolio approach. Now, this is more or less a summary of both the approaches. In unified portfolio approach, there is a simplicity. It is definitely a starter strategy. It provides administrative ease, and it works if it works if it is only there is a discipline of consistency, discipline to follow the asset allocation strategy, and discipline to carry out the strategic rebalancing, like a military personnel. Well, in case of the multiple portfolio approach, it provides the precise goal tracking. It is must for the retirement and the emergency funds, and it definitely provides a higher psychological ease. It is more of a practical approach. Based on my presentation so far, you must have come to a conclusion what can be my personal choice. My personal choice is the multiple portfolio approach, but there can be a balanced and practical approach also. One can have a unified or single portfolio approach for all the negotiable goals. That is the kids' education, assets, experiences, and kids' marriage. One can manage with the unified or single portfolio approach. But for the emergency funds, the non-negotiable goals and retirement funds, for these two non-negotiable goals, one has to have a dedicated, separately designed portfolios. Ultimately, the choice is yours. Now we'll understand how the particular personal financial goals planning is executed. Let us take the example of the kids' education. Say the age of the kid is around 8 years. So, 10 years from now, he will need the funds for his college education. It may be into the medical or into the engineering or into any discipline that he wants. So, first we have to find out the current expenses into the particular discipline. This is defined as the present value of the expenses. Then we have to find out the inflation matrix prevalent in that educational expenses. Based on these two parameters, that is the present value expenses and the inflation matrix, we have to find out the future value of the expenses, again with the help of the personal financial mathematics formulas. Once this figure of the future value of the monthly educational expenses is derived, then we have to do the reverse engineering and we have to find out how much monthly investment is required at a particular rate of return so that we can accumulate at a defined period, that is at the end of the 10 years, necessary corpus size which is good enough to provide for our kids' education. So basically, this requires detailed understanding in the financial mathematics. It is definitely a subject for another presentation and another discussion. But I'll not leave you empty-handed. I'll share with you a Google Play Store link, which will help you download a which will help you download a financial calculator, which will carry out all these financial mathematics formulas, and it will help you plan for your personal financial goals. This financial calculator helps you to plan for your long-term financial goals like child education, child marriage, and retirement. It helps you assess how much you should invest every month to get a desired amount at the end of the investment period. It helps you to calculate the future value of the SIP in payments or to quickly calculate the EMI of the home loan or the car loans. This is the same slide repeated, but here the link is active and hyperlink. So we can download directly from this link this financial calculator. I have used this personal financial calculator for the purposes of the retirement retirement planning. And I have found that its values, that is its inputs and its outputs, are more or less as accurate as any MS Excel based calculators or any FC based Casio based calculators or any retirement planning planner available on the online. So these are my words for its accuracy, its efficiency, and its utility. So dear colleagues, do download this calculator and do get benefited with its financial mathematics aspects. The final question, the final answer, which is the best strategy? The best strategy is the one that you understand, which you can execute and which helps you sleep peacefully. I do not have the final word. I am here to help you create the strategy. So create your own strategy. But strategy should be simple, secure, and sustainable. Dear colleagues, as we want to explain the complex concepts, complex formulas, complex approaches, one definitely needs the knowledge of the subject. But when one needs to explain the same things in a simple format, one needs next level of the expertise. And this expertise is the mastery of the subject. So do develop mastery in the personal finance as well in anesthesia. And do develop your own simple, secure, and sustainable strategy in personal finance that helps you fulfill all your personal financial goals in your age frame 30 to 60. This is the conclusion of my presentation. I repeat my blog address rk@gajjar.wordpress.com. I usually write about financial planning, retirement planning, and financial independence. Financial independence is a topic very close to my heart, so I'll share few words about financial independence before I conclude my presentation. Financial independence, when it is achieved, it definitely takes away the compulsion to work. In its place, it offers the complete choice to work or not to work. All the questions that are asked in the English language with the initial letters W and H, like with whom to work, when to work, where to work, how long to work, how much to work, all these questions are answered by a single letter word I. When a person achieves the financial independence, he answers, I'll decide with whom to work, I'll decide when to work, I'll decide where to work, I'll decide how long to work, I'll decide how much to work. So, dear colleagues, financial independence is definitely a wonderful journey to pursue, wonderful and worthy journey to pursue in our earning years. Being anesthesia doctor myself, it has been always my dream and my prayers to Lord Swaminarayan that make me financially independent as early as possible. But I do understand that it is equally possible that many of my anesthesia colleagues may be already financially independent. I wish them all the best and I pray for them that they remain financially independent all throughout their lifetimes. And not only that, they may move to a stage forward, that is the stage of financial abundance as well. But for all those colleagues who are yet to pursue the pursuit to the financial independence, I wish them all the best and I pray to Lord Swaminarayan that they all may be guided perfectly well in the journey to the financial independence and they may reach the stage of financial independence as early as possible. With this sincerest prayers to Lord Swaminarayan for all the well-being of all the anesthesia colleagues, I conclude my presentation. I thank you a lot for your patient and kind attention to my understandings. I am really obliged to all of you. I am equally obliged to Lord Swaminarayan for enabling me with personal financial understandings. This completes my presentation. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful talk, a bit complex, but you have made it very simple, it seems, and you have narrated the things very beautifully with a very focused approach and uh, well thought out message that you should be having a goal-based investing. Hello? Goal-based investing with proper asset allocation, which is mixed with both equity and debt component. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful and lucid presentation. Let me start with some of questions. If you can address, please. Are you listening, sir? Yeah. So, how do you define personal finance? I think you are the expert, and you can very well simplify what is actually a personal finance.
So basically, personal finance has 5 pillars. First, one has to earn. Only when one is earning, then there is a question of managing the money. Basically, personal finance is managing the money.
Hello, can you please mute yourself, Imran? Please, yeah, sir, please go in.
So basically, the first is the earning stage. One has to earn the money to manage the money. Basically, personal finance is managing the money. A person who is prudent and who is expert in the personal finance, he definitely has got a saving strategy. The saving strategy is not that whatever we earn, we spend, and whatever is left is our savings. It has to be changed to another strategy. That is, whatever we earn, first, we have to manage as per our saving strategy. As we decided in multiple portfolio approach or single portfolio approach, we do have a certain fixed criteria to invest every month on month. So the first is the saving strategy. Next is the person who is expert in the personal finance. He should have a basic knowledge of the taxation. So he should be able to do the prudent tax planning. So that is the S for the saving strategy, T for the taxation purposes. Next, I is for the insurance coverage. When he should have ideal all the insurance coverage done in the proper form. Then next is the investment. And last is the loan liability. He should be prudent to manage his all loans and liabilities. So basically, I identify this as an acronym, STEAL. S for the saving strategy, T for the taxation knowledge, I for the insurance, another I for the investment, and the last L for the loans management. So one person who is good in personal finance, he should have a sound knowledge of all these subjects.
Okay, beautifully still you should be still in personal finance. That's a wonderful thing. Uh, uh, can you, sir, can you give any uh, substitute to this aggressive hybrid or flexi cap if one wants to be with, because we have plethora of mutual funds, more than many categories. So can anyone choose another fund rather than this aggressive hybrid or flexi cap? Because many times people say that large cap funds and all this blue chips fund is better and safer over longer time. Is it a myth or what's your opinion, sir?
Basically, it depends upon the individual person. Basically, personal finance is more personal rather than the finance. So it depends upon the risk tolerance and risk appetite of a particular person and his age profile. So my recommendations are recommendations only. They are not the guidelines to be followed. So one has to definitely, one can take any opinion based on his own risk profile and risk tolerance and his personal financial goals.
Okay,
There
sir.
can be many alternatives. That is depend. It is up to
Yes,
the individual's choice.
yes, understood. And I think aggressive hybrid and all this, flexi cap and aggressive hybrid has a edge. They keep on changing according to market scenario and give you better returns. So I
Basically,
think it is a wise choice rather than putting blanket on investment in a blue chip or large cap per se.
basically, I
Wonderful.
believe that one must do the profit booking as and when, and this profit booking is done in all these things, the aggressive hybrid fund without the fund manager on its own. So it provides more stability when the markets go downward in southward direction. So that is the advantage of being exposed into these aggressive hybrids and flexi cap funds.
So there is a question in a chat box. What is hybrid assets and how much one should put in a percentage in a portfolio? Hybrid assets. What is the role and how much it can be allocated in your portfolio, overall portfolio?
Hybrid asset is a big range. It starts with the aggressive hybrid, which is having the maximum exposure to the equity assets, that is in the form of the 65 to 70, 80%. And then there is a category of the equity savings scheme, which is having exposure to the only 10 to 25%. So again, I am really sorry, but I am not in a position to say any clear guidelines because it is more of a personal rather than a finance. So one has to take the decision on his own risk profile and risk appetite.
Yes, perfectly, sir. Then there is a one question is why debt fund is a debt fund? I think it is because it has a less no equity component. But you can answer, sir. Why debt fund is coined as a debt fund? That is an interesting question.
Debt fund is coined as a debt fund because basically in debt funds we are giving money to the fund manager and fund manager is giving money to the companies. They are not in partner into the equity. They are not partnered into the profits or the losses of the company. Company has to pay a particular rate of return, that is interest to the individual fund manager. So it is basically not. That is why it is called a debt. The way we give a loan to the bank by giving fixed deposit, similarly, it is the debt fund philosophy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfect. Uh, there is a query for NPS Tier 2 fund. Can you clear that are better, are they NPS tier 2 better than active mutual funds? There is one query. I think
NPS
it has, yeah,
NPS Tier
please.
2 is basically investment account. The only issue with the NPS Tier 2 account is that there is no taxation clarity. As and when one withdraws the funds from it, it is directly added to the income. So basically, I believe that one can use it as a investment account, but there is no taxation benefits offered either at the time of investment nor at the time of the withdrawal. So that is a disadvantage with the NPS Tier 2 accounts.
Yes, sir. Oh, can you, sir, there are various online, if you search, there is one post also that we need 40 crores of retirement fund actually to be a financial independence. It was going on recently in Twitter. So, how much is a retirement corpus actually you should have? Aim with all this multiple portfolio approach or unified approach? Is there
Uh,
any formula, any ballpark figure or anything?
there is definitely a ballpark figure. And I have written extensively about this financial independence and retirement planning on my blog. So it is free to access. So all those who are interested, they can definitely explore. But for financial independence or for retirement, the range starts from 20 times the annual expenses at the time of the retirement, that is age 60, to it goes up to even 100 times the annual expenses. So it is up to one's choice. If one is happy with 20 times annual expenses, say if one is having monthly expenses of 1 lakh rupees, that is the expenses of 12 lakh rupees a year, then 20 times, or that is 240 lakhs is good enough for him. But at the I would not, I personally believe that at least one should have a withdrawal rate of not more than 3%. And for a withdrawal rate of 3%, the ballpark figure that is required is 400 times the monthly expenses. That is around 33 times the annual expenses. So this is the more prevalent in our Indian circumstances. In foreign circumstances, they have recommended 4% withdrawal rule, which is equivalent to the 25 times the annual expenses. But in Indian circumstances, because we do have a higher inflation ratios, my personal recommendation is to go for a 3% withdrawal rate. And 3% withdrawal rate demands that you should have 400 times of your monthly expenses, provided you have taken care of all your other personal financial goals like kids' education, kids' marriage, and personal house and personal vehicle that you want to buy, purchase. So 400
Okay,
times
sir.
the monthly expenses. That is the rough figure to start with.
So 400 times monthly expenses you should accumulate and then withdraw it from that corpus according to your needs. And that withdrawal will be should be not more than 3%, you are saying,
3%,
right?
3%, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because many blogs and many gurus say that you can withdraw up to 6%, 7%, but I think it can exhaust your corpus and you will be left with no money at later stage of your life, right, sir?
There is a one concept known as sequence of the returns. If suppose if we are withdrawing the funds and in initial years and in initial sequence of returns, if there is a market downfall, right, like it is right now,
Yes,
then you will be
yes, yes.
withdrawing more of your capital. And so you will be left with less units, less number of your own personal capital to withdraw in the later years. So in sequence of returns, one has to be careful. So that is why it is designed and it is said that 3% withdrawal rule is good. Usually we assume that safe return rate is around 8 to 9%. And we are withdrawing 3% out of it. So we do leave behind something which is likely to grow over years, remaining invested.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there is one query that do you recommend 10% step up annually in mutual fund? I think it is recommendable thing that you step up your mutual fund SIP 10%, 12% as per your pocket and your financial stage, I think. right, sir?
Actually, let me add over here. We did have a financial webinar in our ISA forum.
Yes, sir.
And that is, I spoke about strategic SIP. In strategic SIP, I have outlined 7 parameters. And one of the parameter was this step-up SIP.
Yes, sir.
Those who are
I think
interested, they can definitely.
yes. They can definitely go through that webinar. I think all these webinars are uploaded on the YouTube.
ISA
So
YouTube channel.
yes, you can search on that. So for all our members here, they can search for past webinars, and they can get everything there also. And